people might choose not to attend, and then they wouldn't be as good a quality because there would be fewer people. So it would still be good if you can attend, but if you can't, we will be trying to record these and then posting them on the website so that you could look at it later. So we are now recording.
Yeah, recording.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone. Again, appreciate your time. I know this is a busy time of the year, so we're just struggling to balance making something convenient, making something useful, but also not taking up too much of your time. So I think it was Rod, someone suggested to just do these early in the morning so that then you had the rest of the day to go out in the field. So I hope that's the case. I hope that works. The other idea was to have them at lunchtime, but if you're already out in the field, then it would be kind of hard to do. So that was the idea behind doing it at 8 o'clock. So hopefully that works the best. So we would like some feedback on that. And we are going to try to do a few more of these before our next meeting. So again, the feedback on the timing of 8 o'clock, if it's lunchtime or at the end of the day, we can adjust to what works best for the most people. So we're going to check in at the end with everyone, but actually I don't want to take the time to go around the horn yet because we will be checking in with everyone, but it looks like we have really good attendance. We've got 18 people on the line. That includes Joseph and I, but most of us are on here. So we'll go around later. We do have a lot to cover in a short amount of time. So, but we also have, looks like we also have, other than our classmates, we have Jason Cutterback and Thomas Bjorkman, and we might have Eric Haas on there. I see a phone number I don't recognize, and he said he was going to call in. But otherwise, I think we're good with just having the classmates. Am I missing anyone that's not an actual, I'll say, student? Okay. So, the main purpose of the call today is and actually, hold on a second, go ahead and mute everyone.
All right.
So, and then also put up, yeah, we're figuring this out a little bit, but so if you can try to mute everyone. Let's see, it was down at the bottom, I thought. Okay, while he's figuring out how to mute everyone, the main purpose of this call today was really to try to stay connected because we have such a large gap between the last one, which was now in October, already rapidly fading in the distance, and then also now the one in March was postponed because there wasn't that many of you available to do it. So we don't want to have, and then since the next one's now at Empire Farm Days in mid-August, it just seems like it would be good to keep connected because one of the strengths of this group is the networking and staying in touch and kind of knowing what each other's working on and areas of expertise. So again, it's a busy time of the year, so we just are trying this webinar, but that's really the main reason to get together today. But we also had some things to share. So we're going to go ahead and move forward with that. So if you could put up the PowerPoint. And yeah, so there we go. I mean, if it works better to, oh yeah, there we go. Yeah. There we go. Okay, so first of all, I just wanted to let folks know, so I think while I'm doing the PowerPoint, we did automatically mute your phones. And then I think there's like a raise hand or a question box. to be able to see. I'm not sure about if you have to enter a PIN or not, but anyway, so just keep in mind right now you're muted. So if you have a question or want to jump in, you have to like click something.
Click something, or you can make a chat. I can open the chat box.
Yeah, do the chat. So again, we're figuring this out. So the next one will be a little bit better than this one in terms of using this technology. But it looks like Joseph did open up a chat box, so you can type a question in there. So again, I appreciate your patience. So then, what's the next slide? Okay, so the main focus of today is going to be talking about doing workshops and doing different events, like if you're doing technical assistance or you're creating a handout or just outreach and outreach events, planning, executing any type of outreach, and also providing any technical assistance. And how are we going to track that? What counts? What do we expect from you all? So I wanted to take a step back and just show what we promised we would deliver in the SARE grant, just to give you an idea of why, some of the goals here. So we have that out of the 20 students, we will have 400 farmers operating 8,000 acres about soil health techniques. So that's like overall. So if you're giving a workshop, if you're doing direct one-on-one, it just basically we're touching 400 farms, and then would get that many acres out of that many farms that are, hear a message, read a fact sheet, you have a conversation about it with. And then, and I did do a lot of just words in here, but that's because this will be posted later, so you can go back and reference it. And I will also just share this PowerPoint in an email. But out of those 400, we're expecting 50 farmers will do something around soil health. So it can be as simple as a soil health assessment, like the Cornell assessment, or another soil health analysis. They could do a soil health plan, or implement a practice such as cover crops, reduce tillage, rotations, nutrient management, or doing a demonstration. There's other things. These are just kind of some ideas there. And then we also have, on top of just this core group of farmers, we can also keep track of other farmers and farm advisors that are attending our field days associated with the workshop. So already we've had 2 workshops, and we had, like, at the conservation field days, or whatever it's called, conservation skills workshop, there was like 20 other district folks there. So like we can count those people. At the second workshop, there was a handful of other folks that were involved, and some of them were district people, some of them were working with Ron, and we can count those other people as extra folks that are just attending our event because we make them available. So all right. So then, anyway, so that's kind of the goals. So, but in order to demonstrate that we've reached these goals, we have to keep track of them. So up until this point, there are several folks out here that have already given talks, and we'll be hearing, or giving, have done workshops, or even probably provided technical assistance this year so far. But I haven't given you any way to track that yet formally. So I have that to share today. And that's what I'm going to go through real quick. And so I have, how do I get to the next? Oh, there you go, right there. So the next slide is basically, I'm going to share with you, I developed an Excel spreadsheet. So you're going to have this one file that has these reporting tools built within it. So one of the tools, and I'll show you here in a second, is a registration template that you can modify and print out and bring to your event to have as a sign-in for these two different groups that we're looking for farmers and for egg service providers that attend your event. And then I have another tab that is just, you're tracking that. So you're taking the sheet and then you're now putting it into the spreadsheet that, then I can copy and paste into my own master to keep track for the project. And that also goes for technical assistance. So there's a technical assistant tab that's very similar to the outreach one, but has a few different columns because there's a little bit of different information. And then in addition, if you happen to be writing an article or making a fact sheet, or some of you out there maybe even publish some information or make a video, anything that you're doing that's kind of media related, if you're involved in it, then I created a tab to track that as well. And then you guys have been off the hook for a while because of the lack of this organization on this front, but we do need to have a semi-annual report, and that's basically will be the spreadsheet. So you'll just fill in. So I made another tab for the report, and there's a few questions, and I'm going to go over that again. So I'm thinking of, so go ahead and go to the next slide. So with the semi-annual report, I have to give SARE a final annual report at the end of December. So I was trying to think when you guys would be, the report wouldn't take you more than 10 minutes, I don't think, to do. But I was thinking July would be the midpoint of the year, and you might have some time to fill it out, and then November, so that then I have time to digest the information and have it ready for the annual report at the end of December. So we just have 6 questions in the report, and you can read them here, but they're just basically, what have you been learning, basically from the classes? What experiences have you had as a result of these classes that have helped you? Any additional training needs that have come up along the way that we might be able to focus on? Especially now with these webinars, like we can try to find someone, especially if it's on campus, but I mean, really we could dial someone in from anywhere in the world to do a webinar for an hour. So if you have some training needs, put that into the report. Talking about some of the challenges you've had with farmers as you try to do these practices and implement, talk about soil health and what are some of the barriers. And then, again, for this, the funders, they want to know how if their money's working. And so has this training helped you reach farmers, and in what ways? And then, as always, do you have any additional comments? So that's I'll show you the spreadsheet in a second, but actually let's pull that up now. So that, you can see that that's in the template here. Is it down at the bottom there? No. There we go. So there we go. Yeah. Share. Oh, you have to share a different. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see that. And so that's the one tab. So you can just see that that's just 2 pages. I put some space there for you to type in, so you can either print it out and write on it and scan and send it, or you can type it into the Excel spreadsheet and just send it to me that way. So that's the semi-annual report. So just those 6 questions, and we'll make it due in July and then one in November. This is the registration template. So this one, you can go up there. I just put in event name, right? So you would just type that in yourself. And then I'll go over the event types in a second, but you can delete that part and then print it out and take it to your event. And then there's a tracking tab. And I'm going to go in this in a little bit more detail, but just so you can see, because I've already mentioned it. So this is where you would then enter your information after you have an event. And then same with technical assistance. That's what that one looks like. There's basically these different activities that were completed. And then the media tracking is just, you have the date, the title, where. So you would just fill out the relevant piece. So like if you made a video, you would have different information in there than, like you wouldn't have the where, so you just leave that blank, that sort of thing. Okay, so back to the PowerPoint. So next slide down, number 6. So we're gonna get into so I just wanted you to be aware that you will have $300 for reimbursement to support or enhance your related events. So as you start to plan, just keep in mind you do have this $300. So the idea was, if you needed to rent a porta-john or pay for some supplies, or even like pay for some food, those sort of things. There's a list of things that are there, speaker fees, transportation, printing materials, digging the soil pit. So you have some, $300 to help support that. In addition, we do have some funding from the Cornell Soil Health Lab. So you can also request soil health tests to be taken. So if you want, if you had an event coming up and you wanted to talk about that farm's soil health, you could get a couple of tests paid for by this project. It's actually by the lab, but so you just have to request that in advance. Don't just go out and do it, because we do have to manage that funding. So, but that's also available. And then I haven't made this yet, but you'll have to complete a request form just outlining the activity, the attendance, and what the stipend will be used for, and the cost. So we do have this $300, and we do have the tests in addition to the $300. But you'll have to request it up front. Just, again, it helps us manage the money and keep track. And so let's see, what's the next
webinar.
Oh, okay.
Tentative.
Yeah. All right. So I'll go into the tracking tools in a minute, but I thought it would be a good time now. Yeah, don't put that up yet. Sorry. That's okay. You can go back to the tracking tools, I guess, so people just have
Go back.
one more back. Yeah. Okay. So, but right now I would like to ask, I already had in advance to ask Debbie and Ron and Morgan to each talk for a few minutes about their experiences. They've already given they've already given different types of soil health outreach events, and I wanted them to share, because they were all, they were different in their own ways, different parts of the state, kind of a little bit of a different goal, and different work and planning and everything involved. So I wanted you to guys kind of hear some experiences from them. So again, the idea here is to share kind of what we expect out of a soil health event, right? So, and again, I'll go through it a little bit more, but I wanted to go ahead and have, I'll start with Debbie. I'll put her on the spot first, to have her share. She had one, I'm sure she's more than one, but have her share about, her experience. There was one this past August, I think, back in Long Island, and it was successful, and I thought it was a good example of that type of workshop. So Debbie, I think we have you unmuted.
Yep.
Yeah, can everyone hear me all right?
Sound good to us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Yes, as Aaron said, I'm out here in Riverhead on Long Island, and we hosted a soil health field day last August out here, and we really it's difficult kind of to do, in the sense that we have a diversity of production out here. So trying to get all farmers, or at least the farmers in Suffolk County, to participate is reasonably difficult. When you have vegetable growers, you have orchards, you have hop yards, greenhouses, everything. Basically all commodities we produce out here. But we did host a pretty successful soil health field day last year. We did kind of, I guess, what Aaron would consider a more kind of traditional field day with demonstrations, with a few presentations, and then, we did demos like, simple aggregate stability test, sponge demo, and we really tried to engage the participants, which I found was very important, trying to ask the audience questions, trying to see what are the issues they're really having. We also showed some soil health related equipment, like a no-till transplanter, no-till drill, spreaders, roller crimpers. But I mean, we had about 45 total participants between ag service providers and farmers. And I think the main thing I wanted to share with the group is just trying to really engage the audience, and not just having them sit there for 2-3 hours for a field day. With this field day, we didn't have the opportunity to go actually out into the field by digging a pit or having a cover crop demo like Rod's going to talk about. But I think visuals were very important for the growers. We also did a rainfall simulator demo, which was, I think, the highlight of the field day for us. And we got that demonstration from the Conservation Demonstrations Company. And just like that visual of seeing soil erosion under different cropping systems was really valuable. I got a lot of good feedback from that. I don't know, did you want me to highlight anything else, Aaron? Or say anything specific?
Yeah, you had a lot there. You had a lot of equipment. You did have several demos, plus you had a few different speakers.
Yep.
And it was outside and you had some food and all that. So what was maybe something that you thought you did well and then something that you would have done differently, or a challenge, that something that was difficult to overcome?
Yeah, well, down here, I don't know, in other parts of the state, but trying to get growers to come, offering food and pesticide credits are two big things, unfortunately, that attract people to our events down here. But I think success was having the demonstrations, having the hands-on. We also had a farmer speak, and I think like we all know when a farmer kind of speaks about their production system, it's the most valuable for other farmers to actually hear firsthand experience. So involving a grower to be a speaker, to share their soil health test report was very valuable. I think for future field days, I want to change up the topic, and I would like to actually go out into the field. So that's something I've certainly talked with Aaron about. We're kind of a little pocket down here on Long Island, so it is different than other areas across the state, but changing up the topic and the style of presentations, the demos, the hands-on things. I do think using each of those is an important tool for a field day. So if you can integrate any of those, that I think that's good. I don't know, something I would change right now. I don't know, I would say we had generally good feedback about the field day here. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Debbie.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. So I was going to, since Debbie mentioned the field day part, or being out in the field more, I thought maybe we'd just go to Rob and have him talk about. So you got a lot of you on this call. So he's done many of these with different people, so he can speak about his general experience. But I picked him in particular because he did the very, in my mind, the complex planting of all those different plots for our field day that we had back in October. And it was outside, so there was, well, so was Debbie's, but it was in the summer. So in October around here, you could have a beautiful day or you could have a very cold day. And also just he brought in these folks from Germany, which I would imagine added a level of complexity. So I thought I would have him share about his experiences doing that type of in the field day, plant where you have to rely on the crop and the weather more directly than like what Debbie had. So go ahead, Rod.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. I'll just talk a little bit about how to set up a plot first. Number one thing is you want to think about when you're going to schedule your event.
Hold on, Rod. We're having a hard time hearing you. It's not hearing you. It's cutting out. It's like the internet connection is not good.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's
try
better now?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So when you're setting up plots, you want to think about when you're going to schedule your event first, then work backwards with your date as far as planting stuff, and understand how long it will take things to grow to get to a growth point that you want to show people. And of course, different crops might grow at different rates, so you might have to have multiple planting dates. You all know that I planted stuff at multiple dates last year for the plot, partly for that reason and partly because I wanted to show different growth stages. So work backwards with your dates, and certainly if you're not sure of how long, you can work with anybody like myself that knows the growth pattern of different crops. And then in terms of laying out, you can show a pretty effective demonstration with a very small area. The challenge becomes how you plant it. Drilling seed in the ground is always the best way. Sometimes you don't have that equipment available readily, or if you're doing small plots, it's hard to do just a small area with a drill. So you got to think about, what equipment, how you're going to seed, how you're going to get good seed soil contact, good seed depth. And there's different tricks you can do. You can drag stuff in lightly. You can do it with machinery if it's a larger plot, or you can do it with, a garden rake if it's a small plot. Rolling, packing is usually a good idea. And then you want to have clear separation of different crops. So sometimes you want to skip a small space in between crops, or you definitely, if you're using equipment, a drill, a planter of any kind, you want to do a thorough job of cleaning out any leftover seed that's in the equipment. It's amazing how just a small amount of seed will contaminate your plots and impact what they look like. So good thorough cleaning of the equipment in between, usually a vacuum. And then, again, you got to think about the crops you're going to plant when they're, is it a warm season crop, a cool season crop? What growth stage do you want to set it at? So that's kind of the planting side of it. It's always good to, kind of keep things trimmed up and sign it so it's, easily identified what's what when you're holding an event. Weather-wise, that's always an unknown. So it's good to have backup plans for how you can deal with inclement weather. So sometimes having a tent on site or some building nearby that you can go to, definitely a good idea.
So, Ron, you make it sound really easy, but it also, to me, sounds like there was quite a bit of time involved with, even just vacuuming out the equipment in between all those plantings at different times because you did different timings. So
right.
Making signs, putting the signs in the right plots. How much time do you think it was for you, or was that an issue?
Well, it wasn't an issue for me because I planned on it. But I would say It probably took me 3 hours roughly at different times, cumulatively 3 hours to plant that. And then another additional, couple hours making signs and, then the preparation before the event. But, so it does take time, and the more experienced you are, the faster you can do it because you understand all the steps and you just get it done. Usually what I find when you go to plant a plot, the hardest part is getting started. Getting everything laid out and getting started. Once you actually start planting, it goes fairly quick. So.
Okay. Is there anything that you would have done differently or you could think about trying to do different next time? You've done it a lot, so you're probably getting it down, but.
Yeah, I guess nothing comes to my mind. I would have ordered a little warmer weather.
Yeah, exactly. We all would have.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And, some hands-on stuff for people to see and do at an event is really good. So having some equipment for people to look at. I dug the small soil pits. We didn't spend a lot of time at that at the field day, but having some stuff that people can really look at closely and put their hands on is nice.
Yeah, you did have the soil health trailer there with Faye, so that was good. He did a couple of demonstrations there. So that was a little bit more hands-on.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you. So, and again, it sounds like, if other folks on the phone are thinking about doing this and want some help, it sounds like Rod would be willing to give some advice anyway and some suggestions. And same with any of the folks that you're hearing from, Debbie, and then now Morgan.
Yeah.
So we have Morgan on the line now too, and he just did a really big event in early March, and I know some of the people on the call went to it. I heard very good things about it, so I picked him because it was. He brought in people from out of state, basically, and I call them rock stars of the soil health. But it was a big event. I would say it was probably costly, but he could talk about that. I don't know for sure, but I know that those folks charge to do that. So even just that makes it more expensive because a lot of times we get people that do it for free. So he, in my mind, had a again, a very valuable workshop, but it was a different style in terms of bringing these folks in and having it at a hotel conference area, that sort of thing, where there was more money involved. And so I wanted him to talk about that, and it sounds like he's on the line ready to go.
Yeah, sorry, my NOFA New York computer that I was originally logged in with, it's old. And it basically just died while I.
I know. Couldn't handle it.
I've been scrambling with the phone. So anyhow, so we had it was the Dairy and Field Crop Conference for NOFA New York back on March 6th, and even though the name implies something maybe a little bit different, my personal bent is toward big picture, kind of holistic approach. And the way we envisioned this particular event was it's not a standalone, hey, everybody comes out, has a good time, peace, love, and happiness, and then we go away and go back to doing all the same crap we always did. It was more along the lines of, this is a way to get people excited, invigorated, bring people together from a greater distance, and then use it kind of as a launch pad for future events that would be more localized. So events like Rod's, events like Debbie's, where you would have 20 to 40 or maybe even 60 participants at a field day or a workshop out in the field. The other thing is, again, even though the title was Dairy and Field Crop Conference, we really wanted to get as broad an audience as possible. You know, Debbie was referring to having a really diverse array of people there at on Long Island, because, you know, just different practices. You're going to be, if you've got a hop yard, it's very specific, right? If you've got a vineyard, it's very specific, but then you might have a diversified market garden that's on 1.5 acres where you're growing, you know, 42 different species in rotation. And so you're going to just really have a lot of variation. My suggestion is you find the common thread, right? In our case, we're talking about the soil. The soil is the common thread. So you really have to hammer that home. Try and rip the blinders off of people, because we get tunnel vision, right? I'm a livestock producer. I don't know anything about dairy. Well, that's bullshit, right? I mean, dairy and livestock, they're all animals. They're all dairy. They're all cattle, right? And so trying to find the common ground, and seeing the big picture, to me, that's the impetus behind what we're trying to do. Because it all comes down to the soil. Whether you're growing arugula or Angus cattle, it does not matter. And getting people to realize that is a challenge. But it's also, when you see the light bulb come on, it's amazing, right? Because then you get people starting to realize, well, if I incorporate some form of animal impact, whether it's raising rabbits and chickens in a hoop house over the winter, and then converting that hoop house to cut flower production for the summer, or, you know, like you can start thinking outside the box when you start seeing the big picture. So that was the driving force behind the conference, or the driving theme. And then utilize that. Once you've got the crowbar in the crack in the door, really pry it open when you get to the field days and you talk about poultry egg production in combination with a market garden, or, you know, grazing livestock in combination with crop production. Maybe it's small grains or what have you. And so bringing in Gabe Brown and Ray Archuleta and Francis Tickey, yeah, those guys are rock stars, and yeah, they do cost a fair amount, but we had 190 people, 200 people at the conference, from all over New York State, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. A couple people came down from Quebec. We had dairy farmers, we had crop producers, and even though this was a NOFA event, which normally you only get people interested in organic agriculture, we had probably 30%, close to 30% of the attendees were actually conventional producers, conventional crop producers, and conventional dairy producers. So that tells me the name recognition is important, but really the theme is more important. You know, talking about cover cropping, talking about soils, that is the common denominator. Focus on that, then in a big way, then you can get into the details, the nuts and bolts of how do I improve soil health on my particular farm, whether it's a 1 acre market garden or a 1,000 acre crop production farm. Either way, it doesn't really matter. It's all scalable when we start talking about the soil. And that's, you know, anyway, I've probably gone too long, but that's what that was the driver.
That was great.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I just had, you did not talk too long, but I do have to move things along to keep us in our hour. So thank you very much, Morgan. So again, I would suggest that some folks, and I know even myself, if I go forward with planning such a big event, definitely he's a resource that you could talk to about pitfalls and things to think of, and and the strategy of behind it and that sort of thing. So just keep in mind that And there's others on the phone that I know gave their own events. I went to Tucker's the next day after that one, and so he had a very big event as well. So there are people on the line here that have done these, and so we have that expertise in this group. And I'm sure everyone here would help each other out in ways that they can. Anyway, so I just wanted to go back to the spreadsheet because it's really exciting to look at a Excel spreadsheet. But I wanted to point out a few things because like we're talking about, like I really appreciated Morgan, he was able to break out the different groups and where people came from and different types of farming systems. And so, I probably can learn from him how he captured that information. But what I did with the spreadsheet was, I don't know if it's being shared.
I think they're seeing this.
Okay, hopefully everyone's seeing the spreadsheet. So if you go to the registration template, and then, so one of the things, so keep in mind, I tried to keep this simple to one page. And yes, all right. So I tried to keep it simple to one page that you could just print out and have there at a table, but also trying to capture the information. So in the third column, we have farm name or agency. And so that, because it could be, again, another extension agent that's not part of this group, or it could be another consultant, again, that's not part of this group. So obviously they're not going to be a farm type or having their own acres, but at least we capture their name and their agency that they're with. And then to the far right, so then if they're a farmer, then we're asking their type of farm, and then there's a list of types down below to give them an idea. There's crop acres, and then to the farther right there, where do they intend to implement a soil health related activity. So I put that in there because if they put yes, then there's an opportunity anyway to then reach out to them later and ask them if they ended up following up with something. Because, we do have these events where we have 150 people and we have good talks and people, good information out there, but then how many people actually leave there and then go do something? So it's hard to track that. It's pretty much impossible, but this is my attempt to try to get, so you see a yes in there, and then maybe in the, 6 months later after the season or something, you send them an email and just try to see if they implemented something, and then we can try to track that for the grant. So that was one thing I wanted to, and then as far as, go to the tracking, and then just up in that corner. So in the top corner there, sorry, actually, no, back to the registration template up in the corner right here. And so just, again, in terms of expectations, I just wanted to touch with, these are the different types of things. I mean, this is not exclusive, but just to give you some ideas of what we're going to count, right? Like, I'm not going to be a police officer deciding if one thing was good or not. We want to support you and encourage you to do all the good work that you're doing. So these are just some ideas. You just heard from 3 people, 3 different types of workshops. And here's some other things that, we would consider tracking for this grant. I'm going to say, we brought this to the board or the advisory committee, I should say, and it went back and forth, but we're only going to count things from today forward in terms of getting credit for this project. So I know. We wanted to count things, but we didn't really give expectations. We didn't give you the tracking tools. Some folks thought we should wait until the whole year was done. I'm sorry, the whole curriculum was done. So my compromise was, okay, now you have this information. Now you know the expectations. So now we'll count going forward. Because technically, we weren't actually supposed to count until all 5 courses were done. But there have been good stuff done. So so that's the compromise I came up with. Again, feedback is welcome, but it did go in front of the advisory board, and some folks on there wanted to actually wait till they were done. So compromising. So anything from today forward, we will count. So that's it. That's pretty much, actually one more thing on the technical assistance tracking. So again, so this is more like if you're on a one-on-one with a farmer, so you're at the farm working with them and you're providing direct technical assistance. So again, it could be something, I would say the lowest level of technical assistance would be that we're tracking, would be, an assessment. So you go out, you take a soil health test or two, and you get the results and you talk about the results with them. That, but then there's steps up from there. But, if you're just like, say, hey, you should plant cover crops like that, that's probably not great. But if you're doing a one-on-one thing, but again, there's some ideas in there of things that count. And that's down at the bottom. So there's some ideas of stuff that could count for tracking for our grant, right? So just keep that in mind. That's down there. So yeah, and that's it. So I'm going to share this with you all. I didn't get it done. I got it done in time for the meeting, but I did not get it done in time to like have Joseph and the advisory committee vet it out. So I'll share it once it's got the official stamp of approval, but that's pretty much what it's going to look like. And so that'll be available. And I will also get the stipend request form ready. Again, it will be very simple. I don't want people spending a lot of time. It's just more, we have to have a tracking, something to attach the money to. So it's just going to be a piece of paper but it will help us, with tracking that. So, okay. So with that, I thought we would spend the rest of the time that we have just going around the room. I did, so to speak, the virtual room. I did so we can unmute everyone now. So just keep in mind now you're unmuted. So if you're eating your breakfast, chew away from the mic, yelling at your kids, get ready for school, whatever you're doing, it'll be out to the masses now. So you can mute yourselves. I would recommend that, muting yourself, and then when you're ready to speak. So actually, I'm just going to go in the order. Maybe you could even shoot. So we'll go with Tucker. And I did have some things to talk about here. Like Tucker did do a workshop. Maybe he wants to share about that. So, maybe some pressing needs. I gave you a few topics to consider, but really it's just, what do you want to share with this group? Is the main thing. And then here's some ideas that I gave you to think about, in terms of professional networking, if there's some ideas there, ideas for this group, what to do kind of in between sessions. Anyway, so go ahead, Tucker.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna just give me a second here to switch to off my speaker and my phone, so I can probably talk better. All right, can you hear me now?
Yep, sound good.
Yep.
Okay, so we've been doing, soil health workshops for a couple years now. Just kind of, picked it up as, one tool to, to keep us kind of connected to our farmers more in the winter months, and also as a way to use our AEM, Ag Environment Management Outreach Education Partnership kind of hours. We're kind of lucky in Ontario County where we have an educator position kind of built into our program as well. So that helps out a little bit, takes a little bit of stress off of me. But most of the workshops that we do are organized just, really with myself, and then usually, the educator and my other coworker technician. So we're working with a fairly small staff to put these on. And I think, that's where like some of the networking really helps out, where I've reached out to, multiple people in this group over the last couple of years. Paul Salon helped out a lot in the beginning, and we just kind of use this network to get the word out about these workshops. And, we've had very good attendance, anywhere, from, I think, with the 3 workshops, we've averaged right about, 175 to 200 people per workshop. And then we've also done some smaller ones. We understand that it's hard to fit something into one day that meets all the producers, needs. So we bought, so like last year, I should say going into the last winter, we did one larger one that sort of met the needs of what I would say larger producers. But we did a grazing one as well that was mostly focused specifically on soil health and grazing. And that one was attended by completely different, clientele. We actually had a lot of smaller farms, even, homestead-sized farms at that one. So, but, in my experience with it, like using the network you have is great. And then some people, people have asked, our workshops have been fairly expensive to put them on. And they're like, well, like, how do you do this, just as a district? And, we've partnered with our watershed groups on this. I'd suggest, for people who looking for partners, I mean, usually, these watershed groups for us, Canandaigua Lake and Seneca Lake watershed, groups, they have quite a bit of monies that they want to use on water quality, type projects. And, this really does fit their needs as well. They kind of want to connect with the agriculture community. They get credit, they put some of them will attend the workshops. They're right in there with the farmers, and they get to see that, wow, this many farms are interested in soil health or nutrient management in our local watershed. I will say most of our workshops are pulling people just from our county and just neighboring counties. We're not pulling people from other states, but, a lot of times we'll have 40 or 50 farms directly from the exact, local area that we're doing the workshop in. And I think that means a lot, and it helps, make that connection between the farm community and non-farm community. So that's just something I would suggest that, if you're looking for assistance putting these on, especially on the cost side, because it's expensive to put these workshops on, is that, we found really good, really good partnerships with our watershed groups. And, it's something we plan on continuing to do into the future. So on the Enfield side of things, like for us, it's kind of because all I do is AEM and AIM technician. I mean, like almost every day we're kind of in the field doing something with farmers. And I mean, whether it's structural BMPs and nutrient management, it's soil health gets tied into all of it. So, I guess my position makes it, it puts me in a good position to always be working with landowners on soil health, type of projects. And so on my side there, we have had, we have no problem, rubbing shoulders with farmers and getting, soil health projects on the ground. We do, we have a lot of grants that are just cover cropping or, just erosion control based ones. And then we have the other side where we have focuses on nutrient management. So I'm sure not everyone has the same opportunities that we do, but that's that's kind of how we do our program here, where soil health is something that, we're working one way or the other almost, every single day.
All right. Yeah, you guys do have different resources there at the districts, but I definitely appreciate your sharing your experience. And so I'm just going to go down. I can't tell everyone's name. Some of them are just phone numbers. So I'm just going to pick Lori. Are you out there to share how you're doing? It's kind of a random surprise. It's like pulling a name out of a hat. But are you
Yes.
Unmuted?
Yes, I'm here.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Do you have anything you'd like to share with the group?
Not offhand. Everybody has some great experiences, and there's some good places to go when it comes time to make a presentation like they've been talking about. So very excited about that.
Okay. How's things going out in the field for you so far? Have you been doing much there?
Oh yeah, we've been very busy last couple of weeks. Our soil sampling was behind due to the weather, so we've been out doing that quite a bit, and we've been just doing burn down and alfalfa stand assessments right now. So it's pretty busy out right now.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking the time this morning.
Sure.
So next I was going to go to, I think Lynn's on the line. So Lynn, if you can unmute yourself.
Sure. I don't need to reiterate what's already been shared by a bunch. I would definitely say that, it is advantageous to work with agencies, and we also work with private sector, and I'll let Darlene share what she's got going on. I think that's a really important advantage to making sure we reach people where they're at. We have a strong vegetable group, and we also do quite a bit with livestock and dairy, and sometimes those groups mix. And a lot of times there's, maybe a central speaker, more of an inside type of meeting. And then we try to do the field walks, farm specific. And that's one way we try to bring both audiences in and utilize the resources.
The other thing I thought that you did that was really unique was having the sousaphone player at the at the workshop that I attended. That was quite something.
Yes, our first soil health workshop here, and really focused at that. We had some good entertainment. So I'll leave it at that, and folks can come to the next one if they want to know more about our farm host and his band.
Yes, that was very good. But it was very good, not just because of that. That was just very unique. So thanks, Lynn.
Yeah.
So it looks like I'm going alphabetically. So next in line would be Brian Borman. Are you out there?
Hey, good morning, Aaron. I'm here.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. From the field, I was like the last speaker, looking at some alfalfa stands and how they overwintered this week as well. Really nutrient management planning, delivery, and helping farmers make decisions about soil conditions for manure application and doing field work in general.
Has the weather been a challenge in this area every year has a different challenge, but in particular, is it putting people behind, or what's kind of the sense?
It was pretty dry there up until last Sunday, I think. We were in a really, Salmon Creek was all rocks for about a 10-day period there, which I've never seen in the beginning of April. And I think farms got a lot of work done, which was good since fall was so wet. It was nice to be able to get out there early and get some manure out. Seedings went in a little bit on some gravel ground, and then we've been kind of locked up this week with the rainfall we got, and more on the way. So I wouldn't say we're behind them. It felt like we were ahead, and then we're losing this week for the most part.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Brian. I'm going to try to keep this moving along. So we had, Anne Marie couldn't make it. She let me know. So Dan, are you out there?
Hey, Aaron. Yep, I'm out here. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you sound great.
Awesome. So yeah, I work directly with the diversified vegetable, mostly organic farmers within New York, and so I've been kind of making some headway with them on just talking about and getting them more adapted to understanding the soil health. But there's a couple different things we've been working on here. One of them is I've actually reached out to Ryan Maher and also the Equicenter. I don't know if you saw that they are doing a tarping workshop coming up here in May. I myself, as a homesteader, I love the tarping concept. I hate weeding. So anyway, that we can kind of help them understand how tarping practices can be incorporated into managing your soil health. I'm going to see if I can participate in that program anyway. We actually donate a lot of vegetable and flower seeds to the Equicenter. So we're going to kind of participate in that way, but also see if we can kind of incorporate more of like in conjunction with the tarping that they're going to be talking about more, talk about that. And actually for Earth Day, we're doing an American Farmland Trust partnership. We're going to actually donate 5% of all revenues this weekend to American Farmland Trust. And I've been working with Ryan Lower. I don't know if you're familiar with Ryan at American Farmland Trust, but we've done this in the past for a couple of years now. And
awesome.
So we're going to be doing that this weekend. And also we're tying in the soil health specialist training for New York State into that campaign. And so we're going to just kind of making like our entire network of farmers that we work with more on the veg side. We're going to be incorporating a video about the American Farmland Trust soil health program, and then also including some pictures that I've taken from some of the field days here. And so we're going to have a nice little tie-in with the program I participate in on the soil health side with the entire American Farmland Trust campaign that we're running this weekend. So that's just one immediate thing that we're doing, but I have a couple ideas in mind for a workshop in the future. We actually have a 2-acre trial field here that is in desperate need of better soil health management. And with what I've learned from this workshop, I've actually taken it to our trials managers and hopefully going to be incorporating that, and then also kind of acting it as a trial site and hopefully a future workshop site for more diversified vegetable growers than anything, but trying to get them to understand, okay, this is where we started at in the beginning of the year with our soil health assessment, and this is where, based on the set practices and the variables that we're controlling based on cover cropping and everything else, this is where it ended up at the end of the season.
All right. Well, you sound very busy, and I appreciate the work doing there with the American Farmland Trust. So thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah. By the way, I'll get that tracking tool to you right away, so you can keep track of.
Awesome. Awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah, probably before it's vetted. I'll just send it to you right afterwards. Okay. So it is after 9 o'clock. So if you have to go, I understand. I tried to do it in an hour, but I would still like to go around the room and to the people we haven't heard from yet and give them a chance to share. But if you do have to go, totally understandable. I just want to mention we are going to just go ahead and have another one of these May 23rd from 8 to 9. I just picked that date this morning, just to get it on our calendars, but we'll fill in with details. We're going to try to have someone join us and share, speak, a speaker or two come share to the group. But again, it'll just keep us checked in, keep us connected. And so May 23rd from 8 to 9, we'll do another one. So next I had Kevin Keenan to share. Are you on the line? So he may have had to drop off or is muted.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop off. This is Morgan.
Okay.
I appreciate everything and great webinar, Aaron and Joseph. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Morgan.
Yep,
Okay.
same here.
Okay.
Same here, Aaron. I need to get going, but thank you guys and speak soon.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. This is Brian Lord. Great webinar. Took a lot away from it. Have a great day, and I'm pretty excited. Thank you.
Okay. Well, maybe we should just call it, and then my lesson is learned on time management. So
before you go, I had a question for Debbie. Debbie, when you offered pesticide credits, what pesticide credits did you offer for a soil health field day?
Debbie's already gone.
She's
already gone.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry
I'll email her.
But there are ways to get credits.
Yeah, I just wondered which ones, or if I've never applied for them. I don't know if you have to apply for a certain category. I wondered what attracted people and fit into her program. And then I just wanted to say thanks to Tucker for the great idea of reaching out to the watershed groups.
Yeah. Patty, a couple days ago at a meeting, Janice Degny was there, and we talked about offering pesticide credits for these events to get people, actually for the Empire Farm Days. But she said she would help me with that, but maybe she would also be a resource to
great idea, because the field day I'm thinking of is going to be in conjunction with Janice.
Okay.
Yeah. We offer credits in ours. I can go into that. It's actually a pretty easy process. They're the field and forage pesticide credits through DEC. They have an application form, and the main thing is just to verify the speakers that you have you have to be pre-certified to offer the credits for them. Then they will look up the speaker profiles. They want a couple sentences on what the talk will be about, and then they actually pick what categories. If it meets something beyond field and forage, they will pick what it goes into. So it's an application form. It's not bad at all, but you want to start the process about 3 months before you offer the workshop, because sometimes you get them back in 1 month, sometimes it takes 3 months. So that's one thing we learned. And when you put that on what's being offered on your sheet, you'll get farmers or people calling you asking what are they offered for because they need to have them in certain categories. So I would suggest knowing what credits you're getting before you put it out there, because the first time we did our workshop and offered them, we were like, oh, let's offer these. And we applied for them a month and a half before the workshop. And we're like, oh, well, we're going to offer pesticide credits, but they're pending. And people were calling and they want to know what category they were going to be in, which that pretty much tends to be field and forage, but it'll fill a couple other categories as well. And, you know, it behooves you to have that information ahead of time. So when a farm calls, they know that the credit that they need is being offered. So, but it's not that bad. The main thing is if you're going to offer, make sure that you have a couple speakers that are certified to offer the credits or get certified. I did that for a workshop a couple of years ago. It's not that bad to get certified. I'm sure you yourself are qualified to be certified. And the topic just has to be something pest related. You know, you can't do a manure management talk and then get pesticide credits particularly for it, but you almost, you know, like anything related to, you know, like soil health or pest management is going to get some credits. Just, you know, you just have to get a little bit away from the nutrient management or the manure management side of things to get those.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you very much, Tucker.
Yep. And it's not a bad process at all. We were like, oh, like how are we? But the other thing would be you can reach out to your local extension office. They typically are willing to help with that as well. You know, it's something they've always worked a lot on the, you know, the pesticide training side of things. So, you know, they can typically help you, you know, if you have questions on one of those applications. But if I can do it, you know, then anyone can. So
I wouldn't say that, but thanks, Tucker. Yeah, but Janice, for you, in your case, Patty, I think Janice would be willing to help, especially if it's in her area. So anybody else out there, just to give you a chance to ask a question or to share something. We are over time, which I, you know, learned my lesson here too. Maybe I think we should do this.
On the time management thing, so that just reminded me, like that's something on every workshop. You think you have enough time for your speakers, but you almost if they say their presentation is half an hour, you might as well, you know, double that. You know, we've run into that in every workshop we've ever done. Luckily, like we always build in a longer lunch and longer breaks to catch it back up. But I can say without fail, like, you know, if you're running a workshop, your biggest stressors are going to be time management that day.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right. Anybody else want to give us some parting words of wisdom?
This is Alicia. Can you hear me right now?
Good. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So this is Alicia Larson. I work with the Extension Office. I'll be moving back into the Ag Department, but I just want to kind of concur what Tucker said. Patty, to yourself, give yourself enough time for those pesticide credits, you know, like Tucker said, about 3 months, because I've been in the same boat that Tucker has, where I've been waiting for them to kind of come through during a crop congress. And I was going to offer the same thing. You know, contact your extension if you're needing any kind of assistance, and I'm happy to assist as well. So in my previous career, I was pretty much dealing with event planning for 8,000 people to, you know, 10. So I'm happy to kind of give my word of wisdoms in the future for your future events and workshops that are happening. So I'm kind of glad to be a resource here for that.
All right, thank you.